Who want one last trip to the long trail?
I was playing Tekken 8. Someone did a rage art, and I tried to punish their rage art with Yoshimitsu's down 2, which is 15 frames. There was like lag involved, right? And that lag involved basically ruined my input, and I wasn't able to punish it on time. And I was raging, and I went to Twitter to complain about rage art still being minus 15. A lot of people latched on to this tweet, and it's interesting because some people don't know how bad of a change this is. Like if you look at this one, something else to cry about. Just play something else. Oh, this is a good one. Rage art still absorbing attacks and serving as a beat all panic button is something we don't talk about enough. So you could also talk about how they removed the power crush properties and how rage arts now rip through everything. More range, more tracking, and then also they're minus 15. So if there's lag involved, if there's any type of delay, you're cooked. The fact that they still have armor aren't one per match is something we really need to talk about. Yeah, exactly. So this one, minus 15 is enough. If somebody isn't capitalizing from a minus 15 advantage, then that's a skill issue, right? And you see 70 likes, so a lot of people like this. The thing is not every character has a minus 15 attack or a 15 frame launch punish. From what I was seeing, people were talking about, Zafina can't do it. And then also the Mishimas. The only way to do it with the Mishimas is with like a perfect electric. Like you gotta be cooking. Once again, no lag. Rage Arts is really powerful against a Mishima if there's like any type of delay because it's a strong chance of them missing their input or not doing it in time. I think Steve Fox is another character who can't launch punish Rage Art. There's a couple. But then also another thing that's like really jarring about Tekken 8's super, because it's basically a super, right? All of the fighting games have super. Another thing that's really jarring about Tekken Super is that you can't punish your super with a super. In Street Fighter you can, in Mortal Kombat you can, in Tekken 7 you can. Pretty much every fighting game out there. Is there a fighting game where you can't punish a super with a super? We always talk about how Tekken wants to be Street Fighter, but then you have these weird examples here where they're doing something that's not like Street Fighter, which is why I don't know if saying Tekken wants to be like Street Fighter is even accurate, because I don't think that's what they want to be. I think they want to be their own thing, and they're just trying to make guessing, and we could go down that road of conversation, but basically it's like punishing a super with a super is the most fighting game thing ever. And I mean, think about Evo Moment 37, right? Isn't that literally punishing a super with a super? So the fact that you can't do that is just very weird. But then also, if you talk about it, Tekken 7, I believe it was like minus 17 or minus 19 or something like that. And that was great. Every character could launch punish it. There was actual risk involved. And even if you did have like lag or something, you could still like take advantage of it. Them dropping the frames to 15, it's literally them just trying to make comeback mechanics as safe and as frustrating as possible to deal with, to defend against. And we talk about season 2 as a whole, how people are upset that the developers are, restricting defense. Them also putting that limitation on rage arts is the same thing. This is the thing that I'm confused about. It's like, how are the Steve, Harong, and the Mishima players not more upset about rage arts? The fact that you guys have to either do like a grab, or you have to do something else and you can't launch it like you're supposed to, I would be raging about that. I'm already upset and I have a 15 frame attack. It just doesn't work all the time because the game is laggy. I think this is something that players need to speak up about so they can up the frames. This person says it should be minus 18. Yeah, they should be like minus 30. And then also for rage arts, you could talk about how people spam it every single round, no penalty. It's ridiculous. At least in Street Fighter, you have to build up meter to use your supers. In Mortal Kombat, you get your super just by getting beat up. But then also, you can't spam it every single match. If you use it and it lands, then you don't get an opportunity the next one. You have to commit to the super. And basically, like, the fact that scrubby Mortal Kombat could do it, because that's what people say about Mortal Kombat, is that it's the most scrubby, casual, friendly fighting game there is. And the fact that that game could put limitations on its super, they do give it to you for getting beat up, but then if you use it, then that's it, right? The fact that all of these other fighting games have limitations and Tekken has no limitations on their super, but then also they make it as difficult to stop as physically possible, right? It's barely launch punishable, so much so that most characters or some characters can't even launch punish it. But then also they made it track more, they increased the range, they made it do more damage, they made it faster, they made it you can't crush it anymore. In Tekken 7, there were some rage arts that you can go over and under. And I'm not talking about the highs and lows ones. I'm talking about the mid ones. Like there's mid rage arts that you can do like a jump and escape. Yoshimitsu used to be able to backflip over Lee's rage art. Now I don't know if the Lee players felt like that was bad or not, but the fact that rage arts weren't a one button, press this thing and you win type of move, it was like something you're risking there. It wasn't guaranteed. In Tekken 8, bro, you press that rage art button, it doesn't matter what the opponent is doing. If they're not blocking, they're dead. But look at this tweet. Someone says, you cannot capitalize on the -15. Person says, I like playing June as a secondary. I don't like the fact she can't launch rage arts. This person says, all characters shouldn't have access to all tools. Ain't that crazy? Okay, I agree that not all characters should have access to all tools, but I don't think that applies to rage arts. I think every character on the roster should be able to punish a super. That's like saying we're not going to give some characters a rage art. Imagine that. Imagine if we didn't give June a rage art because we don't want every character to have every tool. Imagine if we didn't give Yoshimitsu heat. We don't want to give these characters all the tools. So you don't get heat, you don't get rage, you don't get the opportunity to launch punish. It's some of these, that's like saying some characters don't get a sidestep. If you really stretch what this person is saying to the fullest extent, it's so absurd. Certain characters can't crouch. Certain characters can't jump. It's absurd. This is a mechanic, a comeback mechanic. Every character should be able to launch it because there's also a property in the game now that has the ability to regain heat. Arsenal says, characters with installs clearly have a big advantage. If that's the direction, then either give everyone an install or take it away from those who have it. There's certain things in the game that every character should have, like the ability to also regain heat. There are certain characters in the game now who has like some weird like mechanic where they can gain more heat. Jack can do it, Azazina can do it, Lily can do it. Those are just some of the characters off the top of my mind. But when Lars can do it, when I first seen those characters regaining heat, I was like, what is this? Heat is one of the most busted things about all of Tekken 8, right? And the fact that other characters can gain more of it, that seems like it was super unfair. Saying not every character should be able to launch punish or rage art is pretty absurd, you know? The complaint was that not all characters have a -15 launcher. Even then, a knockdown into Oki isn't enough, to be honest. Just depends on how you approach the situation. Supers in fighting games should be universally easy to launch punish or super back. There's players who are brand new, this is their first fighting game ever, and they don't understand or they don't know the history of these mechanics. They probably don't even think of a rage art as a super. They just think of a rage art as a rage art. That's my point. It's like, depending on where you started your journey through fighting games will definitely impact what type of rules and laws you're applying to these moves, right? But there's probably some people who don't even think of a rage art as a super, and they think if and if you tell them Street Fighter 6 Super or Mortal Kombat's Fatal Blow, they'll be like, oh, well, these aren't connected. This person says, remember when they were supposed to be like -13? That's crazy. And that's the thing, right? The fact that they tried to make rage arts at one point in time in Tekken 8 -13, what is up with that? They wanted no character to be able to launch punish a rage art, basically. MOP says, I don't have an issue with -15. I got used to punishing them with throws, but they got to bring back the power crush hit stop on rage arts. Getting this kind of damage versus a poke doesn't feel fair. Worst part is they hit you with rage art and still lose. 20 seconds gone for nothing. There was a post that talked about how the time for a rage art has increased, the average time. And I don't know if I'll be able to find that, but basically the average time of a rage art has increased by about like 10 seconds. In Tekken 7, they were about 6 to 7 minutes. In Tekken 8, now it's about 10 to like 15 seconds. It's a huge noticeable jump across the whole roster. And you talk about getting hit with that 3 times every round, but then your opponent still loses at the end of it. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like a lame experience. But then the part where IMOP says they just got used to the -15 punishing it with a throw, I feel like this is a bad habit as well. Like, we get used to some of the more egregious things that it's like your old chef was a good cook, he goes to jail, and now you got this new chef who's a worse cook. And at the start, you're like, oh, this food is bad. But then a year later, you're just, you forget what it's like to taste the good food. Sometimes we get used to things that we should not get used to. And this is one of them, in my opinion. I personally love block block punishing a rage art and still being stuck with my back to the wall against Reyna, who still has heat. So this is a perfect example of a Steve player who blocks a rage art and he can't punish. He's also on a demotion match, right? He can't punish and he has to do this follow-up attack that knocks her down. She's 1 pixel left. He tries to go for this move, but it's harder than this should be, right? The Reyna stands up, she has heat, and now she's back to cooking. The Reyna should be dead here. The Reyna threw out a very, lazy rage art, and she should feel the full wrath of that punish. How is the match still going on? Look at the Steve Fox charges, and she immediately panic rage arts. And she's not punished for that. She should die off of that. That's my exact point.